Thursday Threatpoint. Better beta, worse odds. Frame alone won't save you, but paperwork might. There's a reason the Better Beta divorce strategy guide exploded inside the red pill space. It spoke to the one demographic nobody was really building for: the man who didn't walk away, didn't go nuclear, or self destruct, but still got smoked. The dad who stayed, did the work, and got kicked off the stage anyway. Not for being weak or for being abusive, but simply for not being needed anymore. The Better Beta wasn't selling some faux Sigma delusion about post breakup abundance. It didn't drown itself in jargon or pretend you could Rambo your way out of a custody fight. It offered something else, something rare in this space: clarity. A practical reframe for the man who already lost the relationship but still had skin in the game. And for a while there, it worked. But now the dust has settled. The IG quotes and the glow up reels have faded. Your inbox now is full of therapist referrals, court emails, and parenting logs. What's left is the real fight, the part after the collapse, when she has your kid and all you have is a checklist. And this is where most men who followed the Better Beta guide all the way to court are starting to realize something brutal. The Better Beta is better, but he's still not ready. Where it actually applied. Credit where credit's due. The Better Beta nailed a few hard truths the broader RP sidebar has either ignored or buried under dated abstractions. First, it pulled the plug on the idea that frame alone could win the day. Alpha or bust might work in the dated market, but it collapses under the weight of court, shared parenting schedules, and Section 211 reports. The guide understood that once you're co-parented, co-signed, and cohabitated, it's not about seduction or sexual market value anymore. You've already stepped into a system that doesn't reward charisma, edge, or dark triad swagger. It rewards consistency, emotional regulation, and the ability to appear boring. The Better Beta offered that in spades. No theatrics, only one sobering premise. If you're already divorced, you're already the beta. Accept it, stop LARPing, and start managing your optics. That one reframe alone saved thousands of men from self-inflicted deletion. Instead of fighting for identity, they started defending access. Instead of arguing over principle, they started understanding precedent. And for a generation of men raised on pickup theory but blindsided by parenting plans, it was the first breath of fresh air they've had in years. What actually worked? Number 1, emotional reactivity equals legal suicide. This is where the guide landed its first real blow. Emotional reactivity isn't a weakness, it's a liability. And in family court, it's a ticking time bomb. You can hold frame in theory, but the moment you snap, raise your voice, or vent in writing, you're cooked. She doesn't have to be right, she just has to look afraid. The Better Beta stripped this concept off of his chaff, didn't moralize it, didn't weaponize it. As the Better Beta made clear, you're not trying to win her back. You're trying not to lose access to your child. That's not stoicism. That's courtroom discipline. Frame in this context isn't a flex. It's a firewall. Number 2, she's not the project. You are. This one hit the covert contract crowd square in the chest. For every man still harboring the hope that being reasonable will earn him fairness, the Better Beta gave a dose of reality. You're not appealing to her empathy. You're responding to her attorney. Your logic doesn't matter, but your tone might. And your evidence? That's your only currency. The guide helped men stop negotiating with echoes and start building timelines. It shifted the focus from healing her to protecting yourself. Number 3, you don't get to opt out. The red pill is still full of fantasy exit strategies. Move abroad, ghost her, go dark, or don't even play the game at all. But if it's your name on the birth certificate and your income is being reported, the game is playing you. There's no rogue exit when the state can garnish your wages. And the better beta cut through that nonsense. It also made one thing painfully clear. Not in those exact words, but in spirit. There's no such thing as ghosting a custody order. You're either present and prepared, or you're forfeiting. Fine until discovery. The issue with the Better Beta Divorce Guide is simple. It's still a guide. And in theory, guides work. Until you're trying to explain to a judge away a 6-month gap in your paperwork. The guide gives you strategy, but it doesn't give you a system. And what it doesn't prep you for is the real logistics of conflict, or a holiday message that subtly redefines the exchange schedule. It's for the grind behind the scenes, the late night school form sent with a passive aggressive jab, the friendly check-in that ends up attached to an affidavit, the dentist appointment you weren't told about that somehow proves you're disengaged. It doesn't show you how small, forgettable logistics, the ones you didn't screenshot, didn't push back on, didn't log, become her timeline of your pattern of absence. You held frame, and she built a case file. The Better Beta helps men hold frame, but it doesn't give them a filing cabinet, and that's where it loses the plot. The threat point it misses. There's a quote from Whisper that cuts deeper than most. You're not dealing with a woman you dated. You're dealing with a woman who has something to gain from your failure. And that right there is the missing link. The Better Beta taught men how to stop chasing reconciliation, but it didn't fully account for what happens when the conflict doesn't end. It just changes format. It got you out of her frame, but not into the courtrooms. It prepped you to stop negotiating with her emotions, but not with her lawyer. And in high conflict custody, there is no middle ground, no shared win, just access or no access, influence or irrelevance. What the Better Beta doesn't cover is how even doing everything right can be turned against you. Being calm, brief, professional, and she can still paint that into a narrative. In court, your silence isn't seen as strength. It's seen as detachment. Your boundaries become controlling. Your brevity reads as emotional withholding. The judge doesn't know your character. He knows what's in the exhibits. She walks in with 74 pages of emails, and you walk in with inner peace, and only one of you brought evidence. The oak, not a rock problem. The sidebar tells men to be the oak, to be grounded, composed, unshakable. But most Better Betas end up being the rock, rigid, cold, and silent. And in court, those aren't the same thing. One reads as masculine, the other reads as shut down. When she cries, the judge listens. And when you stay composed, the judge reads between the lines. And he doesn't read generously. That's the fatal flaw in most RP post-collapse strategies. That they're built for appearances, not documentation. For emotional clarity, but not legal optics. built for how you carry yourself, but not for what you can prove. Cool, calm, and fucked. I knew a guy who never heard of the better beta but seemed to be unintentionally following the advice to the letter. Never raised his voice or got baited into responding emotionally. Communicated exclusively through email while avoiding all drama and escalation. In my opinion, he was a model of restraint. But he never once tracked her schedule swaps or logged his pickups. He didn't keep a folder of the late drop-offs or built a case file. And when she accused him of being uninvolved and distant, he had nothing to disprove it. No support docs or receipts, just his word. She had screenshots, and the court believed her. Because again, you're not trying to re-attract her. You're trying to out-document her. What was left blank? This is where tactical fatherhood came in. As a complete operating system overhaul. The better beta taught men to stop bleeding. But tactical fatherhood teaches them how to build a tourniquet, prep the evac, and log the damage. What was missing from the BBDG? A transition log to track every exchange and every excuse. A custody calendar that matches the agreement, not her vibes. A mood tracker that timestamps tone shifts and pattern shifts. A shared expenses ledger with zero room for forgot. A message index with every escalation tagged, sorted, and searchable. A school cost reconciliation sheet that doesn't get weaponized. A naming system for your PDFs that survives cross-examination. A workable budget system to map every dollar tied to your kid. No more spreadsheet guesswork or he doesn't contribute. A dry erase whiteboard, visible and court ready, so the week runs by your plan and not her chaos. Because strategy without structure is just a story. And in court, stories lose to systems, and theory is a liability if you don't have evidence. The binder always wins. There is no red pill doctrine for custody. Most of the space stops short at don't cohabitate, don't get married, or walk away. And that's fine, until she walks in with a binder and a smile. Rollo once said, the feminine imperative has always sought control of the reproductive process. The state is simply the new vehicle. And he's not wrong. But most guys still treat that like a meme. They don't understand it as a custody system that picks winners. The better beta was the first real attempt to answer that problem. But it can't be the last. Court doesn't care, but you should. Less emotional reactivity is good, but it's not evidence. Holding frame helps, but it doesn't rebut a letter from a school counselor. And staying grounded is noble, but when she ends up calling you rigid, the judge won't ask for your explanation, he'll ask for your calendar. Being calm is not a legal offense, and neither is I didn't want to make it worse. The court doesn't care if you're chill, but it sure cares whether or not you're prepared. You don't need just a guide, you need a goddamn binder. The better beta gave men the framework they needed when their world first collapsed, but it didn't give them the tools to operate in a system that came after. It got them off the floor, but didn't get them through discovery. And until you build the system around your strategy, you're not only holding frame, you're just hoping silence won't be used against you. Sure, a lot of men in court are calm, collected, and rational, and still get outmaneuvered by a friggin' court binder and some highlighter. So if you're a father in this mess, start with something simple. The budget reset tracker is at tacticalfatherhood.net. It's the first step in your documentation system. You'll start building the binder and not just holding frame. Subscribers on Substack get access to the Discord and early YouTube releases. And every week, a new tactical essay hits my Substack, 2 essays weekly, and a YouTube breakdown of one of them. Frame alone won't save you, but paperwork just might.